Welcome back, everyone, to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I'm Nick.
And I'm Devin.
Hey, I always say before What Do You Know? I don't know why.
Do you want to try it again or not?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just noticed every time I do it, I go, welcome back to
Did you forget what we're doing?
Yeah.
We'll change the title of the show. I'll change out all the graphics, the
and
handles.
It should be UMM ...
What do you know? What do you know?
Why are we Roz for Monsters Inc? Jesus Christ.
I'm always watching.
That's really good. I saw someone, you know when he gets 2319'd?
Yes,
and
I didn't know we were still talking about Mike Wazowski.
So sorry. Still talking about Monsters Inc. Where he gets 2319 and he gets shaved down.
Yeah.
There was a drag queen who did that, like with the dog cone and stuff. So people were just throwing dollars into the cone.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
great. It was so funny. All right. Well, with that to start us off.
I love that imagery.
Yeah. Welcome to this week's episode. Let me ask you a question.
I love questions.
Who's your favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, you're ready.
I am excited.
Who's your favorite? Like Greek myth? Like it could be god, it could be myth, it could be whatever it might be.
Okay.
Oh, why is this a difficult question for you?
Yeah. Well, I'm terrible with names.
We're describing the most random myth.
Yeah. See. So.
Oh God.
The most of my this is a great question for Allie. Most of my interaction with the Greek myths is through a phenomenal game series.
Oh God,
God of War.
Okay.
1, 2, 3 on the PlayStation 2 and 3, and then like there's 2 more on the PS5 that are great. Sequel to the original series. 10 out of 10. The soundtrack of the second one. Phenomenal.
You plug in here?
I am. So I think, I mean, I learned a lot of Greek myths of like the kid version though, like
Sure.
And I know they're a lot more fucked up than what most people know about. Like, I always think about like how fucked up the Minotaur myth is.
Oh yeah.
In the center of the maze, and like how that he was created and how the maze is created. I think the father of Icarus created the maze.
Yep.
I don't remember his name.
Nope.
Like I told you, bad with names. But I also know he created Icarus's wings.
Yeah.
As well. Those things, melted.
They were doing so well.
So great.
But then.
I think the one I'm most familiar with is here I am with the name. The guy who constantly, I can hear Allie screaming when she's listening to this. She's gonna be like, "It's this guy, you idiot!" It's the guy who gets his liver picked out by an eagle every day. For introducing fire to
Prometheus.
Yes. Yes, Prometheus.
Do you know a lot about Prometheus?
I do. Because he introduced fire to the people. And Zeus was like, dude.
He also helps create people.
And Zeus was like, dude.
Yeah, and then he's chained to the side of a mountain. And
yeah.
Why
do you ask?
My brain just looked at you and went completely blank. I was just like,
that's what
Prometheus.
My tangents do to people.
Or Sisyphus, rolling the boulder up.
Yeah.
Well, what about gods? Like, do you have like I love Hermes.
I mean, I think I always enjoy Poseidon.
Okay.
Because he's kind of funny, but like he's a major god. I'm trying to think of some minor gods, but
Dionysus.
He's the party god, right?
Yeah, god of wine and theater. Yeah.
He's a cool dude. No, for the gods, I mean, like, are you asking if I have a favorite Greek god or goddess?
Yeah, I guess.
Or are you wondering like if I know the story of some gods?
No, like, do you have a favorite?
I guess we'll just land on Poseidon.
Okay. You seem very energized about that. Do you ever watch Blood of Zeus?
That was an animated Netflix show, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was really fucking good.
The same art style as like the Castlevania show And there's another one about like a black samurai. It's not Afro Samurai with Samuel Jackson. That was on Adult Swim, which is also a great show. But yeah, no, I love that art style. And Blood of Zeus was phenomenal. I'm pissed that there's only one season of it because they always cancel their animated shows for some stupid reason.
So dumb. Did they cancel it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no, they've canceled so many
that was
shows.
Really good. I liked it a lot. There's also a podcast that we started listening to just by happenstance called Let's Talk About Myths, Baby. Hysterical.
Yeah.
But her, and I think entire degree is in mythology, and she kind of goes through somewhat chronologically, like the order of myths. Okay. And it's actually pretty cool because she'll actually tell you either one, here's the variation, or two, here's what the actual myth is. Right. Versus, to your point earlier, like the kid version of what the myths are. And it is pretty good. But with all that in mind, I'll ask you the question. Please. What do you know about Achilles?
Achilles. Well, I know that he was super gay, but no one will say that.
Super gay.
And I watched the movie Troy way too many times.
That was a great I really want to go back and watch it, and I almost did the other night, and then I was like, oh, it's 3 hours long?
Yeah.
Didn't realize that.
And I think I watched it a few times, obviously, on the DVD, but then I would just catch it on TV. It's not 3 hours on TV. No, great movie. Achilles, he was dipped into some magic water, but his mother held him by the ankle, and so that's the only spot that he didn't get his magical powers.
Sure. That's all you got.
And he fought in the Battle of Troy, Siege of Troy.
The Trojan War?
Trojan War.
Mm-hmm.
I forget that it's like 100-year war or something like that.
It's a long one.
There's a whole decade book about it. It's fine. The Iliad.
It's not a book, Devin.
It's a poem, sorry.
It's an epic poem. Jesus.
What else do I know about Achilles? I don't know. Brad Pitt played him. That's all I got.
That sounds great.
There's probably more somewhere in my mind, but that's all we're going to get to today.
It's perfect. Let me tell you all about the myth of the man, the legend, the hero.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, this is actually just a Brad Pitt episode now. Of Achilles.
Yeah.
So, kick us off. Start the birth of.
Okay.
So he is the son of Thetis and Peleus.
Okay.
Peleus is the king of Pythia and of the Myrmidons. Okay. Let's pause for a second.
Yeah.
Why in general.
Oh, okay.
And just say there's a lot of ancient Greek names in this.
Oh, yeah. We can get this out there.
Yeah. And so I looked them up when I did this, and now they're not fully in my brain cells. And so as we go through these things, I'm going to try to pronounce it as best I know how.
Sure.
But if it's like Peleus and not Peleus and things of that nature, let me know. But also just you get it, right?
It's actually Achilles.
I will throw this fucking microphone across the room. All right. So, honestly, get Ellie back in here. So he's a king. He is also an Argonaut. The Argonauts are those that accompany Jason to find the Golden Fleece.
Yeah.
And so Thetis, or Thetis, is his mother. She is a Nereid, which is 50 sea nymphs, like a gaggle of 50 sea nymphs. And
a gaggle of sea nymphs. Okay, go on.
And they're the daughters of, quote, the old man of the sea. And the reason that it's referred to, he's often known as Nereus, but he's the symbol of many water gods, such as Triton, Pontus, things of that nature. Okay. It's kind of referred to as this shadowy, general term of the old man of the sea.
Okay.
Okay. Because it's kind of thematic.
Yeah.
Thetis was being pursued by Zeus and Poseidon for marriage. But she rejects Zeus because she was brought up by Hera and respects the marriage of Zeus, is kind of one theory. The other is that a prophecy is told by Prometheus, your favorite guy,
Love him.
that Thetis will bear a son that will be greater than his father.
Oh.
So upon hearing this and of her rejection, Zeus and Poseidon withdraw their pursuit and in fury decree that she would never marry an immortal.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were like, you can't reject me and bear a son that's greater than me.
Here's a curse.
Well, exactly. And because no one is going to be greater than Zeus, you know? Then she is med to Peleus, as we know. So according to Statius and his unfinished epic poem Achilles in the 1st century AD, when Achilles was born, Thetis tried to make him immortal by dipping him in the river Styx. However, left vulnerable his heel by which she held him.
Yeah, okay. I got that part.
So there's another version of the story in which Thetis anoints Achilles in ambrosia, which ambrosia is the food drink of the gods, and puts him on top of a fire in order to burn away the mortal parts of his body. She's interrupted by Peleus when all that is left was the heel, and Thetis abandons them both in rage.
Interesting.
So there's actually no previous evidence of this invulnerability and specific vulnerability of his heel.
Okay.
So other than Statius kind of saying, oh, this whole kind of dipped in the river Styx theory and all of that, there's no evidence that any of this is true or happened.
Yeah.
Because he's the latest kind of figure to write about it and put that in there, that's why it kind of became popular.
Okay.
So the Iliad even mentions his elbow being wounded in a battle at one point and like splurting blood. A few fragmentary poems of the epic cycle, which are descriptions of Achilles' death. There's no reference to vulnerabilities or lack thereof, and even depict his death by arrows in his chest, not by his heel. Madeline Miller, who wrote Circe and Song of Achilles, which is what influenced me to write this because I read it and was sobbing. It's very sad, but in like the best of ways. She says, quote, he wasn't really invincible, just extraordinarily gifted in battle. Okay. It's kind of the illusion that we get from the Iliad and from epic poems at the time. Yeah. So Achilles grows up in Phthia alongside his companion Patroclus. And so as he grew, Peleus entrusted Achilles to Chiron and sent him to live and study with him on Mount Pelion. So Chiron,
the centaur?
Yeah. Love Chiron? Yeah. So Chiron was the most righteous, learned, and revered of the centaurs. What?
Can I revise something I said earlier?
I'd love to. Let's take it back now.
About myself. My other experience, main interaction with Greek mythology is a different video game as well as God of War. Is a game called Age of Mythology. If you're familiar with the Age of Empires games, same thing.
Got it.
Just myths.
Love it.
And so like you control armies. You control Greek armies. You go through like Greek mythology, Egyptian, and Norse mythology. Hang out with Chiron and Ajax. It's a good time.
We'd love to see it. All of those names will come up here.
Phenomenal.
Excited? So he's with Chiron.
Love him.
So throughout his formative years, Achilles studies with Chiron and even teaches Patroclus what he learned, especially the medical arts.
Oh, okay.
So there's kind of theories that either Patroclus went with him into the mountain because he was a companion with him at that point, or that he kind of came back and taught him what he learned.
Sure.
And so Achilles is described to have, quote, a large chest, a fine mouth, and powerfully formed arms and legs. His head was covered with long, wavy, chestnut-colored hair. Though mild in manner, he was very fierce in battle. His face showed the joy of a man richly endowed.
Oh.
I said, oh.
Flopping it on the
can
table.
Really see it on his face. Okay. We know you're gay, but like Homer describes him as blonde. That's my next note.
Perfect.
And that's
waste
why
a single line of his big ass poem.
And that's why Brad Pitt plays him in Troy.
And that's why he's blonde in it.
That's why he got $20 million for that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy
Brad Pitt made 20. That was like a huge thing when that came out, was that Brad Pitt was paid $20 million for that movie.
Insane.
Isn't that nuts?
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so Achilles also had several names he was known by. So there was Pyrasus, which means saved from fire, which was his first name. There is Aeacides, after his father or grandfather. Sorry. There is Ammonius from the country Ammonia, which turned into Thessaly. Thessaly, yeah. Espetus, which means inimitable or vast. There is Lygron, which is his original name. The myth says that was his original name, but it was changed by Chiron to Achilles.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. There's a couple others like Pelides, which is from his father. It's kind of what Odysseus refers to him as. There's Podarchus, which is swift-footed, literally means defending with the foot. Also may be attributed to the wings of Arc being attached to his feet. So Arc was the sister of Iris and defected to the Titans instead of standing with Zeus during the war. When the Titans lost, Zeus cut off her wings and cast her into Tartarus.
Okay.
And so they're saying like because he was so swift in battle, that he had the wings on his feet. It's like, okay. After his time with Chiron, Thetis, is told that her son's fate is either to gain glory and die young, or live a long but uneventful life in obscurity. So, in order to protect him and with the Trojan War beginning, Thetis hides Achilles dressed as a princess at the court of Lycomedes, king of Skyros.
Okay.
So she's like, dress up a little bit. Hide over here for a little bit. And Skyros is kind of like this small island, kind of just like in the middle. No one's really around there or kind of visits or things of that nature. So she's like, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
So Achilles lived among Lycomedes' daughter under the name of Pyra, red-headed girl, is what it means, or under the name of Isa, meaning swift.
Okay.
So during his time there, totally on theme. I was like, guys, a little too on the nose. You know what I mean? So during his time here, he fathers two sons with the daughter of Lycomedes, Didymia. He fathers both Neoptolemus, also known as Pyrrhus, and also Honorius.
So Achilles
has two sons kids with the daughter of the king.
While he's
Skyros.
Still under disguised as a princess.
Correct. She's like, they kind of flirt, and he's like, hey. She's like, hey. And then they do that.
He has the face of a well-endowed man.
Well, she read it all over that face.
Easy.
Right. She's like, that's not a woman. That's a well-endowed man. So
Scooby-Doo reveal.
Yeah, exactly. So he's eventually found out after Odysseus is told that the Trojan War will not be won without the support of Achilles fighting.
Interesting.
So two stories are kind of told here about how Odysseus kind of discovers him being there. So one is Odysseus arrives in Skyros under the guise of a peddler selling women's clothing and jewelry, but places a spear and shield among the goods as he's selling them. When Achilles instantly takes up the spear, Odysseus knows that it's him and convinces him to join the fight in the war. Every time. Right, the old spear quick trick gets me every time. Odysseus arrives in the other theory is that Odysseus arrives in myth. Jesus. Arrives in Skyros and has
scientific study.
Yeah, exactly. Arrives in Skyros and has a trumpet alarm to be sounded when all the women are together with Odysseus and the king. So the trumpet alarm is like, hey, someone's attacking.
Yeah.
So when that happens, Achilles, upon hearing the alarm, prepares to defend the court as all the women panic and flee, giving away his identity. Gets him every time.
Ugh.
I like to think that was the one that happened more so than this, like, he took up the spear.
Right. Like, it's just like a dumb moment of like, yeah, I'll pick up the spear.
Right.
I know I'm supposed to be a lady of court, but I'm going to grab a spear.
Just so odd.
Right.
So that's the one I like to go with. But Achilles is told his fate by his mother, and he decides to live in glory and die young by fighting in the war.
All right.
We say, okay, your choice, your bed. So according to the Iliad, Achilles arrives in Troy with 50 ships carrying 50 men, so about 2,500 men in total.
Okay.
While it was a decade-long war, Homer's Iliad only covers about a few weeks of it, not including Achilles' death. So from the time that Achilles withdraws from fighting to before his death, that's all the Iliad covers.
Interesting.
When the whole Trojan War is vast.
Right.
Right? So we're going to talk a little bit about before they arrive at Troy, kind of what happens. So there's kind of the judgment of Paris, where Eris, the goddess of discord, threw a golden apple inscribed with, quote, "to the fairest," into a banquet at the wedding of Peleus and Thetis. The goddesses Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite claimed it, but Paris, the prince of Troy, was chosen to decide who should have it.
Uh-oh.
Which is like, why you gotta put that boy in that position? You know what I mean? That's so rude. He awarded the apple to Aphrodite, of course, in exchange for the love of the most beautiful mortal woman, Helen.
Oh.
So Helen, as we know, is already married. Mm-hmm. So Paris, under the influence of Aphrodite, visited the Spartan kingdom and eloped with Helen, who is the wife of King Menelaus. King of Sparta. Yes. So this act of abduction or seduction, depending on the version, outraged the Greeks. So Menelaus sought help from his brother Agamemnon, the powerful king of Mycenae and leader of the Greek coalition. Mm-hmm. Agamemnon summoned Greek leaders and sought their commitment to retrieve Helen and avenge the insult to Greek honor.
Yeah.
So the Trojan alliance, meanwhile, the Trojans led by King Priam and his sons Hector and Paris prepare for war. They fortify their city, Troy, in anticipation of the Greek invasion.
Right.
So like, let's fucking go. But also like, if I'm King Priam, I'm like, hey, why did you have to abduct Helen?
Right.
Wife of the king of Sparta. Like, what are you doing? The Greek fleet arrives at Aulis to gather all together before sailing to Troy and showing a great force. This gets a little fucked. So roughly about 1,200 ships with 120 men each arrive. It's about 145 to 150,000 men.
Jeez.
Which is a show of obviously great force. And the men are called the Achaean army, the Greek army.
Yeah.
So there's Agamemnon, king of Mycenae. There's Achilles. There's Ajax. There's Diomedes, who's the leader of the Argive troops from Argos. Mm-hmm. Ajax is called like the great leader. He's like super big and like massive. There is Nestor, who is kind of the wise and elderly leader. There's Idomeneus, who is the king of Crete. Mm-hmm. There's Odysseus. There's Menelaus. There is Thersander and Escapulus, and then just kind of some other general soldiers and men. So while on this island, before they go to Troy, they're delayed for a long time due to challenges such as unfavorable winds. There's like, we can't sail. There's like no wind. Yeah. As the gods are angry with Agamemnon.
Uh-oh.
So Agamemnon is told by Calchas that he had offended Artemis in some way and must appease her by sacrificing his daughter. Yeah.
Oh.
Iphigenia. And so Agamemnon lures her to the island under the guise of marrying Achilles.
Oh.
She's like, you're going to marry him. He's so great. And it's like, it's kind of like thought of like, that's the only way he could convince his wife to like allow her to come to the island.
Yeah.
So as she steps onto the altar to be married, she's ripped away and sacrificed to the goddess.
Jesus.
Which is just like,
that's fucked.
Well, and Agamemnon's the one to do it. So
right.
I'm just like, that's insane. So some versions say that Artemis steps in at the last second and switches her for a deer and like takes her to the land to like a different land where she becomes a priestess of Artemis. And I like to think that that's more so it than like he just like slits her throat and just like lets her like die in front of him.
Yeah.
But who knows? Because it's the Greek myths.
Right.
The wind returns and the men are able to sail to Troy. So they're like, oh, look, you appeased her. Which also like, fuck for Artemis to be like, hey, kill your daughter. Do what you want. So the army arrives at Troy and sets camp in fortifications on the beach outside the walls of Troy.
Okay.
So diplomatic efforts are attempted throughout the years, but always fail and often end in further intensifying conflict. The men siege the surrounding towns and neighbors of Troy at the beginning of the war without even entering the city. Mm-hmm. A tactic to deplete the city of kind of necessities like a siege, right? After each city was taken, the men would bring all the spoils to camp and place them upon the dais for the war prizes to be claimed and distributed through the camps. So this was like a big like, whose honor of like the kings get first pick, and then everything else gets like kind of distributed and all of those things, right? So after capturing the city of Lamesis, Briseis, a Trojan princess and daughter of the nobleman and priest of Apollo, Briseis. So there's Briseis and Briseis. Okay. And us is the father, is the daughter.
Jeez, okay.
Was taken to the dais to be given away as a war prize.
Ah.
So Achilles claims her as his prize, which slightly ticks off Agamemnon.
Yeah.
He's like, but she's pretty and I want her.
Right.
Fine. So this is kind of where the Iliad begins.
Okay.
Ish. Now we're like starting to get into, he has Briseis, and now there's kind of some more war prizes coming in. They're continuing siege and things like that. Iliad kind of starts with this kind of compilation. So eventually another woman as a war prize enters the mix. Of course, there's many kind of in between.
Right.
But it's Chryseis, the daughter of Chryses, another Trojan priest of Apollo. Okay. They were really great at names. Yeah. And so Agamemnon claims her as his prize.
Okay.
Right? So Chryseis, father Chryses, pleads for the return of his daughter and offers heaps of gold to Agamemnon, but Agamemnon refuses. He's like, no, I want her. I don't care about your gold.
Right.
Fuck off. So Apollo's angry because he's like, this is my priest. He wants his daughter back.
Right.
You're not giving it to her.
Uh-huh.
Fuck you. So Apollo's angry and sends a plague to the Greek camp, which begins to decimate their troops.
Oh, shit.
Like people are just dropping left and right. So eventually Agamemnon returns Chryseis after being told that this is the only way, after being told that he angered the god. And so Calchas actually is the one to tell him, but goes to Achilles first and is like, I'm going to tell Agamemnon this, but you have to swear that you protect me for any reaction that he has of me telling him that he fucked up with a god and needs to return her.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Achilles is like, okay, fine. Like, I'll go with you. I'll protect you. Fine.
Right.
Agamemnon is pissed, though, and demands that Achilles gives him Briseis to replace Chryseis.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, well, if I lose a slave wife girl, I want yours.
Right.
Agamemnon eventually simply just takes her from him. Because Achilles is like, no, you're not. What? That's my war prize, right? So that's the thing is that like, it causes Achilles intense anger and humiliation because it hurts his honor. Like his plunder and glory kind of are coming from war prizes. Like your pick and what you get is like part of your honor. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that they're like, no, I'm taking this away from you is him hurting his honor, especially someone who's a demigod. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he withdraws from the war and refuses to fight. And this is where his quote unquote wrath begins. It's kind of what it's referred to in the Iliad as like his wrath.
Okay.
And so his mother Thetis encourages him to withdraw from the war, of course, because she doesn't want him to die.
Right.
So Achilles, in his anger, prays to his mother to convince Zeus to help the Trojans gain ground gain ground against the Greeks, so that he can regain his honor. So he's kind of like, all right, you fucked with me. I'm going to fuck with you. Yeah. So Zeus does so. And the Greeks begin to get slaughtered. Nestor calls out that the Trojans are winning because Agamemnon has angered Achilles and urges the king to make amends and appease Achilles in some way. So Agamemnon agrees and sends Odysseus, Phoenix, and Ajax to tell Achilles that he can have Briseis along with other gifts if he returns to battle. He's like, you can have this, but you got to come back.
Right.
And Achilles refuses and tells them to simply sail home as he is planning to do. He's like, nope, you're fucked. Bye. So the men, after pleading and praying, so the men, I mean, as in like all of the troops, kind of
the Greek army.
Yeah. After pleading and praying for Achilles to rejoin the war, begin to resent him and get angry towards him as they watch their fellow troops die by the hundreds, and he's like kind of no longer loved. And he is and he isn't. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things where it's like, we get it. Your honor is like you're being dishonored.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like all of my people are dying. Like you clearly are the person that's like supposed to help us. And we need this. Yeah. Like the more that you kind of just like put on this fit, the more that people are turning against you.
Yeah.
So that's the issue, right? So, Hector, leading the Trojans, pushes the men, the Greeks, back to the beaches and begins to assault their ships.
Oh shit!
So they're like, oh fuck! Well, now we can't get we can't get home. So Patroclus makes a passionate plea towards Achilles to fight for his men and his glory, but Achilles still refuses. So Patroclus says, fine, you don't want to fight? Fine. But then he devises a plan that he will lead the army into battle using Achilles' armor for the men to believe it's him.
I remember this part in Troy.
Yes. Without having his honor ruined.
Yeah.
So Achilles is like, okay, fine, but gives strict instructions that he is to stay on the chariot, not pursue the Trojans beyond the wall of Troy, return back to camp immediately after pushing the Trojans back from the beaches and their ships.
Yeah.
So he's like, push them back, come right back here.
Bare minimum.
Right. So Patroclus charges into battle and successfully pushes the Trojans back, even killing the great Trojan hero Sarpedon, which is like awesome. However, he continues to advance and pursues Hector to the walls of Troy.
Oh, no.
Correct. So Hector kills Patroclus during their confrontation, with Apollo guiding Hector's spear into Patroclus, inflicting a mortal wound. Ugh. So Apollo's like, we're just going to get this over with. Yeah, exactly. Hector, realizing it is not Achilles, strips Patroclus of Achilles' armor and takes it as his trophy.
The armor?
The armor.
Oh, okay.
Right. So kind of fucked.
Yeah.
But it's also like war.
That's what it is.
Right. There's some theory as to why Patroclus charges after Hector. So one is he was impassioned with the success of the battle and wanted to continue to lead a siege of Troy. He's like, I'm fucking winning. Like, let's keep going. Let's ride this high. Another is he's motivated by revenge of all the Greeks that have fallen thus far in the war. Right. And the last one, which I kind of like the most, is he knows of the prophecy that when Hector falls by the hand of Achilles, that Achilles will die shortly after. But Patroclus believes that if he is the one to kill Hector, he can save Achilles.
I see.
Yeah.
That I could see that.
Yeah.
I also would like to think there's a fourth theory out there that Hector was just like, little bitch.
Like goaded him.
Yeah.
That is the fourth theory. You can write that one.
Perfect.
So after hearing of Patroclus' death, Achilles goes into intense grief and even deeper anger.
Oh, good.
So this is kind of what Madeline Miller, who's the author of Circe and Song of Achilles, this is really what kind of turned her on to writing Song of Achilles, was because she's like, while reading the Iliad, she wanted to explore more of why he had such an intense reaction to hearing of Patroclus dying.
Right.
Like the rest of what happens here is like all because of his anger and rage of Patroclus being dead. So the relationship of Achilles and Patroclus, while definitely close companions, it's debated if they were lovers. Homer makes no mention of romantic involvement in the Iliad, but Plato makes mention of them being lovers with the Greek custom of paiderastia, which is an older man sexually involved with a younger. So it's usually like a teenager and like a little older man, or kind of what that is.
Right.
And so in Plato's, I think it's Symposium, they talk about that, and they say the ancient Greeks historians say the ancient Greeks didn't have a word to distinguish between hetero and homosexual, and it was just assumed a man could desire both a man or a woman.
Right.
So like there was no distinction. It was just like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? So many pairs of men throughout history have often been compared to Achilles and Patroclus to imply a homosexual relationship.
Okay.
So it was one of those things where it was like, they were best friends kind of things.
And they were roommates.
Right. Right. But I also feel like that's the lens that we put on it, or historians, throughout time have put on it. But at the time, it was more so just, they didn't have like a name for it.
Yeah.
It just was.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just either was assumed that they were, or it just kind of was their companions, and what that comes with. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, back to the story. Distraught, Thetis comes to comfort and convinces Achilles and convinces him to fight. She even convinces Hephaestus. I always forget how to say his name. You know what I'm talking about? That's the guy who makes all of the lightning bolts for Zeus.
Oh, yes, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So to make new armors for Achilles, which includes the infamous shield of Achilles.
Okay, yeah.
And so Achilles rejoins the battle, but is so enraged and full of grief that he is wild and begins to kill just fleets of men in pursuit of Hector. He's just like a rabid animal.
Jesus.
Because he's just so angry.
Yeah.
During his slaughter, Achilles angers the river god Scamander, who is angry with that Achilles is choking his waters with the blood and bodies of men that he has killed.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Scamander tries to drown Achilles, but is stopped by Hera and Hephaestus. Zeus even sends the gods to restrain Achilles in his rage so that he will not sack Troy before the time allotted for its destruction. This shows that Achilles' rage was so great that it could defy fate itself.
Yeah.
Insane.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Zeus is like, he will just fucking kill this entire city.
Yeah.
It can't happen yet.
What, did like Zeus have some money down on like when it's supposed to happen?
You know, he absolutely did. He had one on the side with the fates. And he was like, we got this. Don't worry about it. So Achilles eventually finds Hector and chases him around the wall of Troy 3 times. He's just like, it's like a Benny Hill walking, and you know what I mean? Before Athena intervenes.
Yeah.
So she disguises herself as Hector's favorite brother and persuades Hector to stop running and fight Achilles. Hector realizes the trick by Athena, but he understands that kind of her intervening means that the battle is inevitable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so Hector hopes to keep his honor and fall fighting, so he charges Achilles but misses. Hector accepts his fate and begs Achilles not to spare his life, but to treat his body with respect after killing him and return him to his father.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Let's see if that happens.
So Achilles refuses and tells Hector, quote, "My rage, my fury would drive me now to hack your flesh away and eat you raw. Such agonies you have caused me."
Jesus.
He's basically like, no chance.
Yeah.
Don't even ask.
All right.
So Achilles kills Hector and drags him by his heels behind his chariot, parading him back and forth next to the wall of Troy.
Pretty.
So when Achilles gets back to his tent, sleep it off, Achilles has a dream where Patroclus begs him to finally host his own funeral. Because this whole time, his body's still there.
Yeah.
Because Achilles has been mourning and all of these things, and he hasn't had any sort of actual funeral. So Achilles agrees and hosts funeral games, which I didn't realize were a thing. They're like sport games, but for a funeral.
Interesting.
Seems very odd.
Yeah.
I wish they were more like carnival games though. I think that'd be more fun. So Achilles agrees to host funeral games in honor of Patroclus before cremating him on the funeral pyre. So after the funeral, and with the assistance of Hermes, King Priam, father of Hector, of course, goes to Achilles' tent to plead with Achilles for the return of Hector's body so that he can be properly buried. Achilles eventually agrees, and a truce is promised for 10 days for the funeral to occur.
Okay. That's nice.
I know. So that's kind of where the Iliad kind of ends.
Yeah.
But we'll just kind of close out here with the death of Achilles. So there's not too much talked about in the death of, but in the Iliad, Hector predicts as he is dying that Paris and Apollo will kill Achilles at the gates to Troy with an arrow. Statius is more detailed with an arrow to the heel. Of course, they'll play into his whole ploy, right? Yeah. Also in the Iliad, they talk about Patroclus visiting Achilles in another dream and requests that his ashes be mixed with Achilles in the golden vase his mother gave him.
Okay.
So, and they kind of pull into that with the Song of Achilles, where he requests that his ashes be mixed with Achilles. Mm-hmm. And so in the Odyssey, Achilles' ashes were mixed with Patroclus's in the golden vase after the funeral pyre for Achilles. And then a massive tomb was built on top of a cliff for approaching seagoers to see and celebrate.
Okay.
And that's what we know of Achilles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there's no definitive thing of how he died. I know you said arrows potentially in the chest.
So that's the thing. So he dies he dies at the hands of Paris.
Okay, yeah.
So Paris shoots him with the help of Apollo. And it's said to be more so in the chest.
Yeah.
And that's how he dies. But of course, Statius is no, it was in the heel.
Right.
His only vulnerability. But again, there is nothing to say that he had, he was immortal by any means, right? Otherwise, at that point, he would be a god.
Yeah.
And so, but he is killed by Paris with the help of Apollo. Because Apollo's on their side.
Right.
And then Zeus and some others are on the Greek side.
Right.
And the Greeks win. So the Trojan War is actually defeated, and it was prophesized by Achilles' son.
Oh.
So eventually Achilles' son shows up after, right after Achilles' death.
Yeah.
He's brought to fight in the war, and he's like ruthless because he's like, supposedly he's raised by Thetis.
Okay.
And he's kind of just like a little colder and like just goes in and ends the Trojan War.
Kill everybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really so in Song of Achilles.
Yeah.
So Patroclus dies, and the whole thing in Song of Achilles is Thetis doesn't like Patroclus. Like she understands that they're companions and they're lovers, like fully in the book they are. Like there's no question about it.
Yeah.
And Thetis doesn't like it. She thinks it's kind of like dishonorable, things of that nature. And so she wants, what do you call it? Patroclus dies, and then they eventually burn him. They collect his ashes. Achilles dies. They go to his son and are like, hey, he's dead. It was requested by Achilles and Patroclus that their ashes be mixed.
Yeah.
And he basically was like, no.
Oh.
He was like, fuck that. And they were like, okay, well, and then they do it anyway.
Too late, sorry.
But when they build the tomb,
Yeah.
because in Greek myth, like you pass when your tomb is like when your name is written on your tomb.
Mm-hmm.
So they build this whole tomb, but they put Achilles on it, but they refuse to put the son refuses to put Patroclus on it.
Oh.
And so Patroclus kind of lives in limbo. And eventually they have this really Patroclus ghost or spirit and Thetis have this really like just heartwarming moment of where Patroclus like tells her all the reasons why he loves him and like all these memories and all these things. And then she writes his name on the tomb.
Oh.
And then he's able to, and she's kind of like, go be with him.
Yeah.
And he's able to pass on and be with Achilles.
That's so sad.
It's really sad. I mean, I wanted to finish it before we had gone on our trip. Yeah. And so I'm like sitting on the couch. It's like 6 a.m. I'm like, oh, I got a couple pages left. And I'm like sobbing. And I'm just like, I have to pack, but it's so sad. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Really great book. But I think also just like the myth of Achilles. And there's so many more myths to play into. But I think really, Achilles is really interesting because it is kind of heavily ensued that he is a gay character, or at least like, you know, not simply a heterosexual character.
Right.
You have Patroclus, and there's so much more to dive into that we don't have time for on this podcast. But
he's much more dynamic than Brad Pitt's portrayal in Troy.
Right.
And like, I think that is just a common theme for all of these mythologies. Like I said, really the public only knows the very bare bones, basic kid version, Hollywood version of it. When there's so many more layers to each myth, even especially just as one as focused on as Achilles.
Right. Well, and I think it's insane that he's just so enraged by the death of Patroclus that he's just like
wipes out platoons.
To the fact where a god is like, you're choking up my rivers with the blood of the men that you're killing. Like, I can't have that. Like, that's insane.
That's pretty badass.
And so, I mean, truly. But also just like to feel that much emotion.
Strong emotion,
is crazy.
Incredible.
And so I give it to Madeline Miller in the sense of just like, let's explore that.
Yeah.
Like, why? Because obviously Homer's the one that depicted it as such. Like, why is there so much like emotion around that?
Yeah.
And now we know. Gays. And you can find us at So, but yeah, that's what I got for you today, Dev.
Hey,
little Achilles myth.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, no, thank you. But truly though, everyone, you can find us at TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at @WDYK_podcast, and on X or Twitter at WDYK_podcast.
Make sure you like, subscribe, retweet, reblog, hit that bell, ding a ding. Hated that.
We're gonna cut that.
So make sure you like and subscribe, and let us know what other things you want to talk about on this podcast. Let us know what your favorite myth is.
Ooh, yeah.
And if you want to talk about Age of Mythology anytime, just hit me up. Thanks. Okay.
Bye. Amazing. Goodbye.